Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about the video game industry. We're going to talk about, what is up with the journalists doubling down on calling gamers toxic and alt-right Yahtzees and all of this other stuff in the last 6 to 12 months.
Beyond games, what's up? You can just say what's up with journalists calling people names and just stopped it there. But yeah, continue.
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to Black Sage D, who was talking about this earlier on Twitter. Going back to now, we've got Vice, which used to have its own gaming site called Waypoint, and they're going back now to the problematic 80s and 90s video game history and talking about the history of toxicity.
Everything's problematic and everything's toxic. Basically, you're not doing what I want, so it's all problematic and toxic. That's what it is. No matter whether it's games or TVs or whatever the hell it is, it's not the way I want it to be. You don't agree with my opinions, so you're toxic. That's what this whole thing's about.
Yeah, and so we're seeing more and more articles like this that, a lot of these companies want to double, triple down on pushing social justice in gaming and pushing out the right-wing extremism. Where is this coming from? Because I see a bunch of people, male and female, black and white, gay and straight, with potty mouths.
Right.
In gaming circles, but I'm not seeing these supposed Yahtzees that are behind every bush.
But you know what I do see a lot of? I see left extremists constantly on social media. You said prom was bad. You hate gay people. And you think I'm kidding, and I'm dead serious.
Yeah, it's
I'm
ridiculous.
like, extremism is bad. I don't care if it's right or left. I think most people agree that extremism is called extremism for a reason. And I don't care which side you're on. If you're being extreme, it's shit. Don't do that. But it's very unfair to say only one side's extreme, because that's not true at all.
But something is going on now.
Oh, clearly there's definitely a concerted effort here.
It's like, Gamergate was a thing like 5 years ago, and it kind of had its time, and then I thought, kind of went away. That there wasn't, but it seems like in the last 6 or 12 months that there has been an effort to, reignite.
They need a boogeyman.
They need a boogeyman, exactly. And he looks like this frog.
Their numbers aren't what they want them to be. They're trying to put themselves up as the moral authority again. They don't have the power they think they should have, or they had before. So they have to go around inventing issues that really aren't really issues to try to say they're fighting something to get attention.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about that because we kind of saw this with the Comicsgate situation too, where Comicsgate, all these hit pieces were put out in like 2017, 2018, and then it died down for a year or two. And then it came back with a vengeance this year as more and more people, started to get involved into that scene, started making money doing crowdfundings and whatever. But in the last year, now this article, this is from Psychology Today. It actually said that no, sorry, this is ridiculous. If you go all the way to the bottom, they said this is exactly like the Satanic Panic in the 80s and 90s with Dungeons and Dragons.
This is Psychology Today.
This is Psychology Today.
A scientific journal.
This is Christopher Ferguson, PhD, professor of psychology at Stetson University, said ultimately current narratives from the far left over video games or Dungeons and Dragons, both of which are under attack right now by journalists, look a lot like the satanic panics from the 80s and 90s. In both cases, extreme claims of harm were promulgated based on very little data. Both movements were couched in the language of moral concern. The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
You don't like prom, you're just you hate gay people.
That's right. Both movements pressured media producers to comply with restrictions in order to avoid bad press. In both cases, a minority of extreme views exerted outsized influence, the main difference being that the Twitter age makes this even more amplified.
The vocal minority gets the attention.
Right. Both cases are effectively anti-free speech. Only time will tell if the new Puritanism from the left takes permanent hold or gradually diminishes as freedom of art and expression regain their footing.
That's what I said. I said this is against freedom of speech. And I just love how they feel, the people that are complaining, they have the freedom of speech whenever they want it. They're allowed to say what they want to say. They're allowed to go around making, bold claims and assumptions against people who don't agree with them, call them names, call them Islamophobes. That's, they're allowed to make those claims. It's their freedom of speech. But no one else is allowed to have freedom of speech except for them.
So,
it's freedom of certain speech.
Like, just going back to last year, and we covered this when it came out, the New York freaking Times did an article on this concerned Karen who was, her kids were trash talking in a video game, and she was concerned they were going to become Yahtzees.
Yeah, if you played games, that goes on all the time. And, for as much as they say, it seems to be like white dudes and all right. I've seen a hell of a lot of women be toxic little bitches on games on the internet in general. I am sorry. I've seen a lot of men be toxic little bitches on games, on the internet or whatever. It's not about it's only one type of person. No, they all talk smack. They all act like little babies. It's it is what it is.
This coming from Vox, of course, is Vox. White supremacists are trying to recruit teenagers through video games.
How are they trying to recruit teenagers?
Good question. I don't know. I've yet to see.
I think we've covered that before, but I'm just like, what? I still think what?
I'm saying that these are all coming within the last year or two.
Meanwhile, Animal Crossing, they have a big event where you can go to Biden's Island. To see that. They're on Fortnite and stuff trying to promote Biden and all this other stuff. But no, it's the right-wing hate groups that are using video games to promote people and try to win the vote. I mean, it sounds to me like there's definitely some use of video games here to influence election results and things. But, how can you say that right-wing hate groups are recruiting video gamers when the whole Biden party's out there on video games? I'm not saying it's a bad move. It's actually really smart. It was a smart move on their part. Credit where credit's due. It was a good move. But you can't say this when they're out there on the extreme left doing the exact same damn thing.
Because 2004, he would be on MySpace.
That's right.
Look, NPR, right-wing hate groups are recruiting video games, and they have this horror story about this dad who wasn't sure what his son was up to, but he walked into his home office and found some papers that were turned over they had just printed, and it was all Yahtzee propaganda. And his son plays video games. Therefore, the video games...
he was reading the book. Okay?
Yeah, it's like, this is ridiculous.
My God, the schools are in on it. They're requiring 1984 as required reading a lot of places. How dare they?
Yeah, right. Now, Forbes actually fought back. Forbes game journalists are actually pretty okay. Paul Tassie's one of them. Eric Kane's another one. And he's like,
we don't always agree, but they're usually
always agree. But I will say that they are more fair than places like Vox and definitely Vice. Now, what's being brought up mostly is this Vice article, and, this is ridiculous. It's basically going back, and this is a dude writing this, going back and talking about all the sexism that's been, inserted into video games in the 80s, 90s, that basically generations of young men have been brainwashed by video games, and now they're a bunch of misogynist jerks who are probably going to join the Yahtzees because of video games. Even though I remember having grown up with video games, the games were they were promoted to women too.
Yes, I was a kid then. My mom, my brother and sister got Nintendo for Christmas one year, and they got Zelda. And when we were at school, apparently my mom would play the shit out of that game all the time. But it's just because it's for men. They used to advertise for both boys and girls. Girls played just as much as guys did. You maybe not heard about it as much, but they did. So this is another idea where Star Wars fans were allowed to be girls weren't allowed to be Star Wars fans until recently. That's a load of shit. Just like this is a load of shit.
Yeah. So he was offended that he went back to GameFAQs, which I used to live and die by GameFAQs back in the day. Because I remember, people used to buy their video game guides, but then GameFAQs came along and that sort of dropped off. So then the game guides are actually worth a lot of money. But he went back and he found sexism in these old GameFAQs from 10 or 20 years ago.
What was the sexism?
Well, nostalgia often proves to be the gilded coat of paint that conceals less pleasant truths underneath. Time and time again, as I looked at character guides for RPGs or fighting games, I found a recurring motif. People being really weird about women characters in these old guides.
In what way?
It's little things, really. Comments about their appearance, or more commonly, their sexual attractiveness, that aren't there for male characters. Notes that women characters often made into a guide author's party because they're hot rather than because they were actually useful from a gameplay perspective.
Yeah, because, all the dude characters, are just so fat and ugly.
Right.
Individually,
they may seem minor, but they stack up over time. And once you see one and are really aware of it, you will start to notice them everywhere. Just like the Yahtzees behind every bush. You see it everywhere.
They made all the characters. The guys are usually, hot too because they're going around that they're fighting stuff, and you want to picture yourself as being these characters or whatever. So what about the fact that they make them they sexualize the male characters too in appearances?
Because I know there are some pretty hot dudes in gaming. Anyway, like Mario. Like Mario, you can get the underwear skin in Odyssey. That's Squid King was showing me last night. That's like a speed run now to see how quick you can get Mario naked. Mm-hmm. I don't know why somebody would do that. But
hey, they want to.
If you're into that, that's fine. So we go from the sexism to Marxism.
Of course we do.
A foundational Marxist theorist describes a process called for God's sake, and we go on. And we go on.
So it's about trying to convert people to Marxism.
Yes.
So this whole article is trying to tell you why Marxism is good, disguised as an article about video games. Because video games were sexist in the 80s and 90s, you should be Marxist now. Then you'll be good. That erases it all because we'll all be Marxists.
This is kind of the unified theory of everything. Gamers used to be and I think gaming is a threat. This is a personal opinion I have. I think gaming is a threat because gaming teaches people to be competitive AF. Okay, like you have to be, and that is so anti-Marxist that it's sort of a threatening ideology. So that's why they keep seeing people pushing games that are like, there are no winners in this game. It's all about just the experience, and everybody shares everything.
You know what the problem with that is? Because you think that there's no winners, think there's no one that's in charge. There's always somebody who's at the top of the food chain in charge.
Pretty much.
You're just the pawns on the board, and they're taking everything, but they're letting you think, pat in the head, everybody's equal. No, it's not. That's not how it works. You're never all equal, ever. I don't care what you want to believe. You will never always be equal. There's always somebody at the top. Always.
Or to quote Qui-Gon Jinn, there's always a bigger fish.
Exactly.
And that's just the way nature works. I mean, I was thinking about this the other day. You look at nature, and this is like a universal truth. It's basically, it's you have to be stronger than the other, beings, animals you're competing with, or you're going to get eaten and you're going to get taken out of the game.
And this whole idea that if you're all equal, that makes it right. No, it doesn't. And this whole idea of if people aren't competitive, we'd never advance on anything. Yeah. Ever.
Well, that's just it. Because everything, basically it was, we kind of depending on your point of view, I guess, but we crawled out of the caves. And it was the smarter, stronger people that started building the things, and then that led one thing to another, and then even ideas are sort of, I guess, Darwinistic. The better ideas tend to...
But not just that. It's like this in general. Life on Earth, it can be summed up with survival of the fittest. That's how it's been since the dawn of time. And the idea is to always progress and be better. What incentive and motivation is there to be better or to progress? Steel sharpens steel. If you're all equal and you all are always going to be the same place, nothing's going to change. There's no incentive to do anything, to create anything to be better. But the people at the top, they're just going to keep staying at the top of the food chain, taking everything while you all get to sit there and be equal. Well, but not everybody's going to be equal.
That's how this works, is they want you to be equally underneath them.
Exactly.
Somebody's always the boss.
Mm-hmm. And giving up, they want you to willingly give up your rights
to your power.
Everything.
Yep.
So they can have all the power.
Yep.
And then, do you think the journalists are going to think they're at the bottom of, no, they're going to be writing more articles and telling you what you can and can't think, what you can and can't say. We're going to censor everything, video games, TV, whatever, so we can control all your thoughts, what you're allowed to say, what you're not. If you say the wrong thing, you end up in some kind of concentration camp.
You wind up being re-educated.
Right.
Re-educated if you question authority. So, and that's what this is about. I actually feel like, it sounds like it's such a little thing with the journalists going so hard after gamers. But again, I think this is about gamers training people to be competitive, to be the best, to be strong-willed, to question authority, to, fight. And of course you're going to go after video gamers because you want to take the fight out of people.
Right. But what gets me is the people they look up to the most, like Ruth Bader Ginsburg and all them. She didn't sit there and just take it. She fought. The people that you look up to as your icons of whatever, they're out there they're out there, having a voice and fighting. Well, how the hell is that any different? It's not. It's just they're fighting for what you believe in.
Fighting to be on the right side of history.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. It's the exact same thing. Oh, and then there was this lovely piece of shit.
You pussified gamers. Vice. What the hell? So we're on Vice. I don't even
This is only because they're trying to get hits. This
Yeah.
whole thing, this whole boogeyman, straw man bullshit is them desperately trying to stay relevant.
So people are angry because they put spiders in games. That's problematic because it scares people. Have you ever played Silent Hill with the little demon children gnawing at your kneecaps? That's some scary shit.
Don't like spiders. But my son still plays games with spiders and stuff in it, and I watch it. There's things I'm terrified of. I'm not going to talk about what they are because it's really lame, and I'll get mocked for it. But there's some things I'm afraid of that are really stupid to be afraid of. And I still watch movies with them in it. I still see games being played with them in it, and because I can separate the fact that this is not reality. Now, I mean, if you're deathly afraid of spiders, I can understand you'd be upset. Just don't play that game.
Right. Well, I think
and there's always somebody afraid of everything. There are people out there afraid of aluminum foil.
I know, right? I was like watching on like Maury Povich one time. They're like crinkling aluminum foil and they're running.
I mean, you name it, someone's afraid of it. So should we not do anything except look at a blank screen? Because some people are probably afraid of that too. Because somebody out there might be afraid of it. That's pointless. Just don't play that game. It's easy.
So, I see a lot of articles like this. I'm like, well, then go back to playing Mario. I don't want to tell you. They've got giant bugs in Mario, too.
There are thousands and thousands of games out there. Find one you like.
Oh, God. So anyway, to bring it back to, like, why are they going so hard on the gamers? I think it is about trying to turn gamers into pussies, basically.
I think it's about control.
And control. But what's really interesting is this is coming from Vice. We're going to talk about these news outlets that are failing and why I think they do it. Because I think part of it is there's some ulterior motive. It might have some political whatever. And part of it is just they're failing miserably.
We need another boogeyman so we can, have a big controversy again. So people will come read our articles, about how we're covering it.
Well,
even though we started it and made it all up.
Yeah, like when were the hits the best on our website? Oh, Gamergate. God, we got so many hits. Let's do that again.
But we don't have a Gamergate. Well, we'll make one up.
We'll make another Gamergate just to get hits. So let's drop a couple of truth bombs here. Vice, okay? What's really interesting is there's so many far, far left people writing for Vice. Do you know who started Vice? Gavin McInnes.
Oh, this is funny.
Gavin McInnes started Vice. So I just want to put that out there because that's going to just burn the minds of some of these journos. Mm-hmm. Like you're taking some of that Yahtzee gold there, journos, just so you know. Vice is a money-losing money pit. Did I mention it loses money?
Yeah.
Disney had to write down $400 million. They lost $400 million in Vice. I'm going to talk about the other day, too. Giant Bomb and I think it was GameSpot, a couple other ones. It might have been GameFAQs, too. They were selling them. CBS sold them. They bought a whole bunch of these websites. They paid $1.8 billion for them 10 years ago. Fire sailed them for $500 million. They lost $1.3 billion on these websites.
So why would it behoove them to try to start controversy, to try to turn gamers against each other, to try to say there's issues? I mean, there are issues, but they're with the extreme. So it's not like a lot of people. Why exaggerate the issues and try to, make them a bigger problem for more control? Because they don't have any damn money and they're failing miserably.
Yep, that's what's going on. And I do believe that there's a kernel of truth here that these people actually believe. The shit that they're putting on this site. But I think also at this point, I don't think these websites care for checks and balances anymore. I think they're so desperate, they're so thirsty for hits that okay, whatever, that sounds ridiculous. We know people are going to come to the site just to check it out. We got to get the ad revenue, just run with it. Mm-hmm. Gamers are werewolves. Sounds legit. They're werewolves, all of them, every single one of them.
Every gamer throughout the last 20 years has been an alt-right white male. Yeah, okay, great. Let's do that.
So Vice, they just had a massive round of layoffs. They're failing. They were losing money before the pandemic. They shut down Waypoint, which was their video game site, and they rolled it into Vice.com. They're failing. These sites are failing, all of them. Kotaku, it's so weird that this article we talked about with Rooster Teeth was on Kotaku Australia, because I think they're getting shut down here pretty soon too. None of them can survive. And this is all about clicks. It's all about clicks. So like you said, let's make another boogeyman, start Gamergate up again so we can make some ad revenue.
I think the problem is, everybody's starting to see through their shit and they know
Yeah.
they're full of shit. And
Yeah.
then it's like, give me one person, I don't care what side you're on, that you're playing some of these games and you never say anything that could be construed as something bad. Ever. You never swear. You never, make a joke. You never laugh at something. You never do anything that could remotely be something that was terrible and bad. You never make fun of anybody based on anything, ever. If you can't, most people can't say that they don't. So it's everybody who does this shit. Everybody does it when they play games. And this whole idea that only certain groups do is a flat out lie. And this is just them desperately trying to cling on to control, because they know they're losing it. And everybody just sees through their shit.
Yeah, I think at this point it doesn't mean anything anymore.
Psychology Today sees through their shit.
Yeah, Psychology Today. Psychology Today. This guy's verified, by the way. He's got a check mark. Is even like, this is just about trying to shock people into stirring up controversy for political reasons. So anyway, we're going to wrap this one up.
Yep.
Okay, so please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.